And some of you who might not have an idea, I have an example here of what a paradox might be. If you read that, that is a paradox. It's contradictory. It's the opposite. It does not make logical sense. It does not compute. The statement below is true. The statement above is false. It can never reconcile each other. Here's another one. I'm a liar. But how do you know that I'm saying the truth if I'm lying? War is peace. That's a paradox, I think. Although some people might argue others differently, I think that's a paradox. So I think we get the idea of what a paradox is. But really, can you be happy when you're poor in spirit? Can you be happy when you're meek? Can you be happy when you're persecuted? Can you really be happy when you're thinking about all these things that are coming your way, all these problems? It doesn't sound like happiness to me. It sounds like misery. It sounds like we're just a bunch of losers. But Jesus' idea of happiness is not the way the world sees it. That's why we think it's a paradox, but for Jesus it's not. Because Jesus' happiness is not based on worldly materials, first of all. In Luke 12:15 it's written, "Watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." Man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. So no matter how wealthy you are, no matter what kind of car you drive, doesn't matter. Your life should be based on all those things. But the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of riches and the desires for other things enter in and choke the world, and it proves what? It proves unfruitful. So obviously, the key to happiness isn't based on worldly values. In Colossians it's written, "Since then you have been raised with Christ, set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above, not on earthly things." So now that we've been transformed as Christians, we have to understand that our basis for our happiness isn't found on earth anymore. It's found in heaven. Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For everything in the world, the cravings of sinful man, the lust of his eyes, and the boasting of what he has and does, comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and its desires pass away, but the man who does the will of God lives forever. So going back to that third step, what does this C stand for? It stands for consciously choose to commit all my life and will to Christ's care and control. In short, what we need to do next after we've admitted our need and getting help, we need to let go. This is the third step to recovery. And it is based on the Beatitude of happy are the meek. And if you want to know what OVERY stands for, please come back and tune in at the same place, same time, for another exciting message. But for now, we shall concentrate on this third choice. You could also go buy the book, but that would be unfair. So before we get into the application or the practical side of letting go, I thought we'd again shift our minds and sort of have this two-part sermon or message. I thought I'd take us to what it means to be meek. What is the beatitude of being meek all about? And once we've sort of dealt what that is from a theological standpoint, then we can finally apply it to our lives. So Jesus continues to teach something a little bit weird and a little bit out of place in our world, because really we don't think of meek as being happy. It's quite the opposite, isn't it? When we think of somebody being happy, we think of someone like what? We think of someone who has a bit of confidence, no? We think of someone who has success, he must be happy. We think of somebody who has influence, because then he commands respect. I mean, certainly if you have success, if you have the respect of your peers, if you're influential, I would like to think that you're probably going to be quite happy, no? But yet, again, Jesus is kind of saying something strange. He's saying, no, be meek, and then you'll be happy. Let's look at some examples. How about this guy? Do you all know who this is? Jim Pattison. One of the richest men in the whole face of this world. And one of the richest here in Canada, for sure. And I'm sure you've seen his many signs. You see that logo, that's his. And of course, he owns all the dealerships, the Toyota, the Lexuses, all those, that belongs to him. And believe it or not, I looked it up on Google. That's not the only thing he owns. He owns a whole lot of other things. And I think his net worth is somewhere in the billions. This guy must be happy. What about this guy? Once the President of the United States. One of the most influential, most powerful countries in the world, he commanded it. But then again, there was this sort of incident about, I did not have sex with that woman thing. So really, was he that happy to have the need to go into the arms of another woman? Speaking of which, what about this guy? Tiger Woods. At one time, one of the most influential, highest paid athlete. Me personally, after Michael Jordan retired, I needed to find a new idol. That was it. He had this great image. At a young age, he just won championship after championship. The pump fist. He made golf kind of cool. So here was a guy who must have been happy. Or was he? Why did he have to go to all those people? I mean, who knows how many other countless women he went through.
Must be happy.
Maybe
More than that, actually more than that.
or more than that.
You got money.
So Jesus was probably on the right track, don't you think? These are people who had confidence, who were the anti-meek. They were supposed to be the alpha males of this world. And yet I think we can all agree that these people were not happy. What's probably stranger is that even though we might think it's strange now that Jesus is teaching us to be meek, it's not like he was teaching something new. It's not like he was some sort of revolutionary that, even the Jews of those days were saying, wow, where is he getting this from? If you look in Isaiah, in the Old Testament, way back before Jesus, it says, the meek shall obtain fresh joy in the Lord, and the poor among mankind shall exult in the Holy One of Israel. Also in Psalm, in the Old Testament, decades before Jesus came along, it's written, but the meek will inherit the land and enjoy great peace. So even before the Sermon on the Mount, even before Jesus came along, every God-fearing Jew should have known that meekness was a key to happiness. But they didn't. And I think we've forgotten it too.